So you started the way a lot of people do, it sounds like, where it's who's every single person I've ever met? Do they need
Yes.
help? Do they know
Yes.
anyone? And then eventually you're kind of doing even more than what marketers would call bottom of the funnel. You're also doing education, trying to help people along their journey so that when they're ready, they already
Yes.
know you.
Yes, exactly.
I'm curious. So you've been in the game for quite a while now, had great success. So I'd love to hear, like, how did you get your first customers, which is hopefully not the same answer as how are you getting them today?
I lived a lot of ugly pricing experiences. So, and that's how like my business kind of evolved over time is the experiences that I lived, those pain points. I actually now work with other entrepreneurs, even seasoned entrepreneurs. We're not taught this stuff, right? We're not taught to, how to maybe solution sell or how to scale a business or how to, let go of control so that you can grow the business or put the structure in place so that the business is supported. So yeah, there's a lot. But for me, it was undervaluing myself.
Linda, welcome to the Growth Stories Show. We're so happy to have you on the show. So Linda Hunt, you're the founder of Some Solutions. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about your business journey. What made you start this in the first place? And who are you serving?
Well, Jean-Michel, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be talking to you and your audience today. I'm going to call it an entrepreneurial seizure. I'm a corporate dropout. I was traveling about 95% of the time for 4 years, and I had just hit burnout.
Yeah.
And I remember, so funny story, I didn't marry my limo driver, but I had the same limo driver going to and from the airport. And he had just started this business where it was a shared ride, which was something novel at the time. And he was having trouble with his business. So I started like giving him advice and I started really enjoying it. And then I hit my limit, right, with travel. And I asked my boss, I said, can I stay home for like a month, just to have a life? And they kind of said no. And that spurred me on to, okay, I liked what I was doing with the limo driver. I'm going to do this full time. So I left without a plan. I just leaped into entrepreneurship. And I started one of the first remote accounting services businesses back in the day, like late 90s, right? 1998. And that's when remote wasn't even a thing. It was not even a thing.
I have so many questions for you about this. So what was the straw for you with travel? I've had this too, where like, for me, it was like every 2 weeks, I would live somewhere for 2 weeks. And, hotel food at some point, it doesn't matter how good it is.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And again, and I stayed in a nice
But
hotel.
what was
like
it
you.
for you?
Yeah, for me, it was starting to be the fact that I was never home. Like people, I was actually up in Canada. I was up in Canada for a year when the straw hit, and I loved Canada. But people from the corporation used to call me and say, "Hey, I hear you're up there. Can I have dinner with you?" It's like people I didn't even know in the corporation. But what did it for me was the fact that I wasn't having a life at home. I was, I was losing touch with friends. I was losing touch with family, and work-life balance was super important to me. So even way back then, yeah.
Yeah, I can so relate. And then when you left, I feel like for a lot of people in the corporate world, it's sort of like you have a lot of pieces of the puzzle. You had to have those skills in order to succeed, but maybe you didn't practice all of them. There's always like one ingredient that you're like, oh, wish I knew that. What was that for you when you started?
Yeah, so that is such a loaded, wonderful question for me. I'm actually going to take that in a different direction. So you know how you have a lot of support in corporate, right? You have all that structure. And I was able to thrive in that structure. But one of the things for me is I'm gonna call it what I'm gonna call it. I was into people pleasing. I was trying to I don't feel my sales was very strong. So I was thinking, oh, I'm just gonna do this great job. I'm gonna undercut how I'm pricing myself, and they're just gonna hire me. How wrong was I? I was creating a worse track to burnout than than I was on when I was in corporate. So.
Yeah, it's like the same problem follow you.
Yes, the same problems follow you. Absolutely. And I mean, I lived a lot of ugly pricing experiences. So And
Hmm.
that's how like my business kind of evolved over time is the experiences that I lived, those pain points. I actually now work with other entrepreneurs, even seasoned entrepreneurs. We're not taught this stuff, right? We're not
Hmm.
taught to, how to maybe solution sell or how to scale a business or how to, let go of control so that you can grow the business or put the structure in place so that the business is supported. So, yeah, there's a lot. But for me, it was undervaluing myself.
So you must have found a way to start charging a more reasonable rate that allows a little bit
Yeah.
of oxygen to
I did.
operate.
I
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
because
So,
you're still here.
right. I'm still here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes, the short answer is yes. How basically what I did was I don't want to say I started like everybody else, but I was
Hmm.
charging by the hour.
Hmm.
And I quickly learned that I was being actually penalized because the faster I worked, the
Yeah.
less I made, and it didn't feel in integrity, especially around accounting services, right? To be padding the hours, right? That did not
Hmm.
feel good at all.
Hmm.
So I, out of necessity for myself, what was happening is I said, well, how do I make this leap from charging by the hour to maybe creating consistent income for myself? Well, the only way I can do that is if I can look at someone's accounting file. So I created a process for myself that actually ended up being something I actually teach and share with other service providers is I'm going to call it just like a baseline audit, right? So you go in and I say, well, I'm going to look at these three things. You're going to pay me a little flat rate fee, and then I'm going to give you some value.
Hmm.
I did that for myself. And that alone, like I think I called it a bookkeeping audit or something like that in the back
Hmm.
of the day. Now it's evolved, but and we provide a more comprehensive service, but that allowed me to gain confidence in how to then create value-based packages. And
Hmm.
that's how I taught myself how to do that and create income that sustained my life and my business so I could grow. Because that I
I
think
love
what you
that. So it sounds like that serves two purposes. One is a great foot in the door thing to sell because it's
Mhm.
not a long term commitment. It's very hard to sell people on recurring things if they
It
don't
is.
know you. So that's a great foot in the door thing. And then it's a productized service where you can imagine the
Mhm,
operations get better and better. And you can charge like what the value to the business is or something related to that.
mhm.
So now you're incentivized to be efficient and everyone wins.
Yes, exactly right,
Yeah.
and it also gives a new business owner confidence, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of service providers are really great at their service, but they're not necessarily salespeople. So if I call it solution selling because you're selling what you know in a
Yeah, it's
way.
great. And it's funny with pricing, human beings are so irrational
It's
about pricing. It's amazing to see how that works. But because, doing pricing experiments, you'll see, wow, if I charge less now and upsell later, it'll work better, even though it's more, the things like this
Mhm.
are always surprising. But does it seem like this to you that, you know, somehow the pricing isn't up to you because the market there's some range, the market will accept.
Sure.
And that's what the value of that thing is. If you charge less than that, you go out of business. So there's only a little
Well,
range for certain
the
things, depending on
yeah,
the angle.
and I'm gonna challenge you on that a little bit because especially in the services business, right?
Hmm.
It's about the transformation that you're delivering. And the clearer you are about that transformation that you're delivering, the key to pricing, especially in service,
Hmm.
is understanding the transformation that you deliver and then creating your workflow to deliver that. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you there's something I call minimum aligned price, right? Your minimum aligned price is your business expenses plus what you want to pay yourself realistically to survive divided by your billable hours. Okay.
Hmm.
So it's not all the time you work, but it's the billable hours. So that's your floor. So if you can that, right? If you could figure that out, and then from there you leap into a package, that's where you're creating your profitability, right? So, but your package has to be based on the value, of the transformation that's being delivered. And I mean, I do accounting services, right? How many other people do accounting services? But it's our methodology, right? It's like when I go in and I talk about it and I say, I won't bore you with the details, but I actually walk them through. I actually walk them through. This is how we deliver our services. It creates trust. It creates like, oh, they're buying the
Mhm.
result. And that's really where
Yeah,
you want to focus that person.
of
But
course.
I do hear you. Yes, the market does bear some, because if I'm providing
I
accounting services that are 3 times more than everybody else,
Yeah.
well, what am I
Or the
doing?
transformation. If you ignore all the work we do and you just say like, you wanna go from here to Hawaii and we're all selling if everyone's selling equivalently getting to Hawaii, there's only so much you can charge
Correct.
within
Correct.
that particular and whoever
Correct.
you're serving. They can only afford a certain
Right.
maybe they
Right.
have to go economy, maybe they can go a premium, maybe they charter a
Right.
jet. There's different markets, but at some
Right.
point, like that's it for you're not going.
Yeah, but here's an interesting thing.
Mm,
We have a newer client. They're a tea house. So tea houses are very popular here in the States now, and there's competition coming up all the time, all over the place. And they charge a certain, let's just say they charge $50 for a sitting at this high tea. And then this
mhm.
competitor came in, and they're about 30 miles away, and they were charging $5 less. My client called me like, "What do you think? Do you think we should change this?" And I'm like, "No, let's compare apples to apples." I'm like, "Yeah, you're both tea houses, but my client offers more flexibility. My client offers a high touch point. Like the justification was there for $5 more." And
Mhm.
she's busier than ever, but she was, because she saw, so you don't always want to panic when you see someone else's price and lower your price. You want to kind of look at it. Is it apples to oranges? What's the
Yeah.
difference? So yeah, I hear you, like you said, there's only so many things that are different, right?
Yeah.
That you could do in certain instances.
In certain
But
industries, that yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I guess that's why everyone tries to narrow down who they serve and get
hmm
specific. But I'm
hmm
curious, so you've been in the game for quite a while now, had
I
great
have.
success. So I'd love to hear, like, how did you get your first customers, which
hmm
is hopefully not the same answer as how are you getting them today?
Oh gosh, it's not. Okay. I mean, back in the day, I mean, coming from corporate, I don't know if you experienced this, but it's like you're going to a completely different world. So you have to kind of
Mhm.
immerse right in it. And I mean, I would go to networking events, you try word of mouth. You know, for, I just, when I first started out, was just the accounting services, tried to meet CPA partners, through networking. It was primarily networking. How I do it now is really, it's relational, right? It's really, I call it relational capital. That might be a new buzzword, whatever you want to call it. But what I find fascinating is that our clients like to keep us their best kept secrets. So they don't really refer us
Mm.
to other people, but I create partnerships, collaborative partnerships with folks who are already doing business with the people that I do business with. So that's one.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I do is I offer a lot of education. So let's just say, for example, you had doing podcasts, but if you have an audience and say you had a membership or you have clients that could benefit from me talking about pricing or me talking about financial clarity, that is typically what I'll go in, I'll offer a free class, and then they come to us. And we find that we get a very large, sometimes we have to say we only have 5 spots this month or whatever it is to bring people on board. But that's how we're
Excellent,
doing it
excellent.
now.
So you started the way a lot of people do, it sounds like, where it's who's every single person I've ever met? Do they need
Yes.
help? Do they know
Yes.
anyone? And then eventually, you're kind of doing even more than what marketers would call bottom of the funnel. You're also doing education, trying to help people along their journey so that when they're ready, they already
Yes.
know you.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Excellent. And what as we wrap up, I want to know, like, what are you the most excited about your business now? It's gone through such
Oh,
a
I
change. You now have it, when I look at you online, for example, you have so much put together. You're building these partnerships and relationships. What are you the most
mhm.
excited about moving forward?
So I have a book coming out early next year. I do. And
Great.
it was a story that was in my head for probably 10, 15 years. It's called The Money Conversation, title of the book, and it's Speak the Truth. I'm gonna get the subtitle wrong. Set the standard, get paid without apology. And this book is talking about all of the pricing is that I went through, but it's a practical guide that helps someone say you want to raise your rates. I actually, here are the steps. Here's what not to do, and here are the scripts. And I've had some pre-reads on the book and it's gotten some very good buzz. So I'm so excited to be helping people with this information because pricing it's hard. Having money conversations are hard. And
Mhm.
if I could help one person not have that discomfort that I had, I'm happy about that. So exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you. It was fun talking with you.
Likewise.